Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Perspectives Podcast. I'm your host, Ashley, and today I don't know what we're going to talk about. That's par for the course for me. But I think what I want to talk to you about is I'll give you a little backstory. Yesterday, I was kind of in a funk, and I think really what it was my system was clearing some schmutz, as we say here in Pennsylvania Dutch. Clearing some stuff out of my system, clearing the pipes. If you've heard any of my other podcasts or looked at any of my other videos, I feel like right now we are in a high energetic time. Shit is happening. And when you're in a high energetic time, all of that vibration likes to knock loose some of the stuff that's just kind of been laying around. And I feel like in the last week I have been clearing the pipes, if you will. I've been getting a lot of imagery about like gutters and hoses and stuff and flushing the gutters. And so a lot of that stuff is getting knocked loose. And I'm super grateful for it. But boy, can it be tough. And yesterday was another day where I did some breath work, and it's like I really was feeling how disconnected I have been to myself and disconnected to other, which honestly, it starts with you. And a disconnection from yourself will stem systemically. Maybe I shouldn't have said stem, but yeah, it'll be more systemic. And you're not connected to nature. You're not connected to the universe, the divine, the whatever resonates for you, with other people, with animals, with anything. But it all starts with you. And I think by the end of last night, I started realizing that I've really lost sense of not so much who I am, but yeah, it's like this. How do I explain this? It's like this sense of being here. I'm currently living at my parents' house. A story for another day. But while I'm here, I'm inundated with energies that are not my own. And it's very difficult sometimes to be here because of the fact that, just like probably how I came to this point, growing up here, you lose a sense of yourself. You lose who little Ashley actually is because you learn protective mechanisms, probably to protect yourself from the energies that you're sensing, but also to be loved. And I'm sitting in this environment in which I was conditioned, if you will, and I'm sitting in this pool of energy that's not my own. And it's really easy to just fall victim to these energies once again, to start losing yourself, if you will. And I feel like this fluctuation of, I'll call it energy, but yeah, that some days I feel super like Ashley, very authentic. But then some days it's like, ugh, like I feel terrible. And granted, I understand not every day is going to be, super exciting and super authentic and super all these things. Life I don't think works that way. Or maybe it does. But for right now, it's realizing that I am on a roller coaster, and it's there for good reason, because having the same energy, having the same demeanor every single day, you don't know really what's yours. But when you have contrasts like this, when things feel very authentic and aligned, and then some days they don't, you're able to pick out those days that don't. You're able to start picking out those energies that don't, or the energies that make you feel more aligned on those days where you don't feel like yourself. So, why do I say all this? Because yesterday was pretty tough. I started feeling all of the ways in which I wasn't really feeling connected to myself, and that I've lost that connection. And I'd say here in the new year, I had really just like everybody else, went out with some gusto on really developing, I'll call it more of a morning routine, but a routine in general, things that I really wanted to give a good try at and see if they work for me. Now, granted, just like anything else, when you do so many things right out the gate, how do you know which ones are helping and which ones aren't? But how I see it is I was doing a bunch of different things like singing and moving my body in ways that felt good, and cold showers and then hot showers at night, and lotioning up, and just really connecting with myself in the ways that I feel I needed or wanted. And so how do you know which ones are better than others, or actually do it? If you feel great, if you started 7 different things, how do you know which one did it? Well, you don't. And I think it's also starting to realize then which ones still feel aligned. Because just like anything else, and this is really not where I wanted to take this podcast today, actually, but just like anything else, it's like everything has a season. And so maybe it feels good right now, keep doing it. But at some point, you start to feel like, this doesn't really serve anymore. This diet doesn't, for a while I was eating so much sourdough bread. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I think there was a grounding reason for that, and just it felt very hearty and it felt very grounding. But now, as we're moving into spring, my quota on sourdough has gone down drastically, and it's okay. And that's just one example, but other things too will start to dissipate, and then other different things will start to come up. And it's about this flow, this roller coaster. Things are changing, things are moving. So, what am I saying here? We were talking about being in this pool of other energy. You're sitting in it, and it's almost like you feel like you become that energy, or it's easier to just to go with the flow. And in normal terms, I would tell you go with the flow. But I think in that is also this sense of having established yourself in that pool, knowing who you are, where your energy ends and where that energy begins. And I feel like I've kind of lost that here in the last couple of days. In the last couple of weeks, I feel like because the energy has been so high, I've been the word evicting came up, but yeah, getting rid of energies that are lower inside of my body. But because of that, it's almost like, I don't know, I've been sitting in this lower type of vibration then, and you just don't feel like doing anything. You don't feel like connecting with anyone or anything, and that's okay too. But I think it's also reestablishing this sense of routine, even in these times that are tougher. I think especially because you know that maybe these things feel good for you, and that these things in some ways not are you, but help to cleanse your energy and really get a sense of yourself, reconnect with yourself. And so I think I say all this because yesterday I really felt at a loss in some ways. I felt humdrum was the word that came to me. And I haven't done any of these, I'll call it clearing techniques, just moving my body even gently, or getting out into nature because the weather has been so shitty here. And I've been eating so terribly heavy, and just not only from a dense quality type food, but from a mass, eating way more than I probably should. And I hate to put that shame and guilt, because I know, just like anything else, that this is a roller coaster. It's going to shift here in the next week or so. And it's I don't want to say hanging on, but yeah, just being here with yourself in this lower energy state and also finding ways to reconnect. Connect with yourself even when you're feeling like this, especially when you're feeling like this. I feel like in so many ways, and so in a lot of times when we're feeling meh, it's really easy to slip back into distracting yourself, whether through food, whether through social media, videos, whatever. And those have a time and a place too. It's nice to feel comforted. Um, the idea of food comes up, and it's nice to feel that I'll call it distraction technique. But I think in some ways there is something to be said about still establishing your connection with yourself, even in these times of bleh, even in these times of meh. And I don't know. I don't know. Part of me is hoping that it takes me out of that state, but I don't think that's the overall goal. I think it's just to also appreciate and give space to this part of me, this person that I also am, that these parts of me exist. And there's nothing to be ashamed of. There's nothing to try to hide. There's nothing to try to distract from, because it's all you. And, I think of like a kid. It's like if they're having not a mental breakdown, an emotional breakdown, maybe they're having a mental breakdown, but you don't just try to send them away and like, you're too much. And it's these emotions, these feelings, these energies that are coming up are a part of you, and it's holding space and allowing them to be there as well. So, yeah, I don't know. I kind of wanted to reconnect with this part of me, and I also kind of wanted to read the channel that I had this morning, because before I started recording this episode, I was really, one, not knowing where I was going to take this. I had this wave of energy go through me, and I don't know, it felt exciting because I feel like I'm giving space to more things, and more things are now starting to come up. So, either way, I'm going to read this. I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of when I write and I channel, a lot of it just comes out very disjointed. But it helps me, I think, just to clear the gutter again, clear the channel, clear the pipes, and just let some of this stuff fly. So I wrote, finding ways to reconnect with yourself, recognizing you lost connection is connection. Finding the things that excite you, changing the energy around you. I get the sense of an energetic bubble that even in the worst of times, when you're in a place completely unlike your own energy, it's like finding the small little sanctuary inside of yourself, doing the things that maintain your energy, that clear your energy, that reinforces your energy, that connects you back to you, that lets you be you, the small things, the things you don't give up on or surrender to, even when you are inundated in energy not like your own. It's easy to lose yourself in these situations, but it's also muy importante to establish, because this is how you will find who you truly are. It's easy to shine in a place where the energy aligns, but it's braver to shine in a place where it does not. It's like we've been talking about. It's like what we've been talking about. Find where you are resisting and relax the defenses. But you can do this when you really know who you are from the inside. At first, I was afraid. I was petrified. But now I can feel that there is Now I can feel that there's no fear inside. Am I numb to it? Is that knowing? Knowing that I'm going to go or supposed to go. I'm supposed to do this, but there's no fear. I'd say that the only hesitation is that of wanting to stay, to do other things, to not miss other things like FOMO, wanting to be in all of the places, doing all the things, but I'm not scared. I'm resolved. I'm ready. It's weird. Am I just naive, or is this my intuition telling me that I'm going to be okay? That everything is going to be okay, and I can feel that. So there at the end, I forgot about that last paragraph. That last little bit, I think, was coming through about this upcoming trip to Egypt. If you've watched some of my videos or listened to some of my podcasts, a little background very quickly is that in the last, I'd say 2 months, this retreat has come up for me in Egypt. And at first I put it on the back burner, and by the back burner is like back burner of somebody else's house, because I wanted to forget about it, because it's all the way in Egypt. And yes, I've traveled outside of this country before, but for some reason Egypt feels way more daunting than does Mexico. And granted, if you were to have talked to me a year ago, actually, I was going to say a year and a month ago, because I left on the 7th of February last year to go to Mexico, I would have told you differently. Mexico felt very daunting, but now to me, like it feels a little on the easier side to go back down to the life that I have established down there. But Egypt, going back to Egypt, it's like this sense that I feel like in the last week, I have evacuated so much uncertainty, so much fear from my body. And it did not feel great at the time, but right now, sitting here, it's not this overwhelming, excuse me. It's not this overwhelming energy that I feel of like certainty, but there's also no fear there. Like I'm not scared. I'm not worried. I'm not anxious. And oh man, this past week I would have told you opposite. And I'm super grateful for that. But I think that's I think my brain wants to make me worried that I'm not worried, that I should be more worried, that I should, and it's like to let all that go and just connect with myself and connect with this knowing that this is somewhere I'm going to go. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what I'm going there for other than a retreat, but after that, I don't know what else I'm going to be doing or what I'm going to be seeing. And normally, I am a person who likes to plan ahead and likes to know, or likes to kind of feel like, oh, well, of course I'm being pulled here so that I can find my forever place to live, or find this secret puzzle piece to, help me understand whatever. I'm making a lot of things up, but there's usually a motive. And I feel, not that I feel unmotivated, it's actually the opposite, but I don't have a motive to show up for. It's like I'm showing up as a complete clean slate, not knowing what's going to happen or what's going to transpire, or maybe that, not that nothing is going to happen, but that's maybe part of the learning or the unlearning, is going to a place with a completely open mind and an open energy, and just allowing yourself to experience yourself in a new place or in a different environment, a strange environment, an environment you've never been in before. And it's like we've talked about in a couple of my videos and podcasts, it's like getting to know yourself outside of your comfort zone, or outside. And I don't even mean that I'm uncomfortable being there, but if my comfort zone is sitting here in my little nest in Pennsylvania, it's like you get to really start to find who you are when you step outside of that. And I don't mean that you specifically have to leave the country to go find yourself. But again, it's all in the name of connection. It's like, what can you do to further connect with yourself? There are things that I can do on a daily basis to clean my energy, clear my energy, reconnect with myself, ground into myself. But then I think in some ways there's also things, just like what happened this past week, releasing things that don't really belong to me. This fear, this uncertainty. I think I'm learning I'm a very, I'll call it self-assured but confident person. But I've been hiding behind this mask of I'm, I need somebody else to make my decisions for me. I'm too scared to do that. I don't want to upset other people, or what if I pick the wrong thing? At least then it's somebody else's decision if they pick. And I think I'm starting to realize I don't need to do that anymore. And I just need to stand firm in what I pick. Because anything you pick, I know this is going to sound stupid, anything you pick is your decision. And that's giving you power. And maybe it's right or wrong. Not that I believe there is a right or wrong, but it's also reconnecting to your sense of your own authority and your own power. I don't even know what this episode's really about because, once again, I guess overall, the umbrella term, we're talking about connection and finding ways in which to connect to yourself and, resurrecting, if you will, that buried authentic self that's in there. And it takes time. It takes time to excavate these things because we don't have a backhoe. We're doing this one small shovelful at a time. And then once we get to that core of ourself, we still have to break through the cement layer that somehow we encased ourselves in, or somebody else did, our ancestors, just to really protect ourselves. And I don't know. I think overall it's worth it. I know overall it's worth it. It just, if you would have told me 3 or 4 years ago that and that's a short period of time, actually it's probably been upwards of six years ago, that unbeknownst to me I started this journey. But if you would have told me then that in 6 or 7 years you still wouldn't know, you're still finding who you are, or what lights you up, what you're passionate about, what feels like fulfillment in your body, I would have just been like, all right, peace out. I'm just going to do the normal thing, if you will. But whatever this is, whatever path I'm going down, it's worth it. I know it is. I can feel it. And I'm going to keep pursuing that. So with that, I got some shit to do today, but I wanted to get this out there, guys, because we are all in this together. And I know right now we are in some really fucking weird times. The energy is just up and down and in and out. And I guess the most I can say is connect with yourself. Find what it is. I get this feeling of back in the day when I had a 9 to 5 and I was so burned out. I was also a runner. I was also a triathlete, a marathoner. And I would get done with work and turn off my phone, even though I was still on call, all this other stuff, but I'm like, I can give myself 40 minutes to run, or whatever, an hour to bike or something like that. I'll catch up on writing scripts and stuff like that afterward. And I'm just like, they can take away my time, they can take away my, my energy, my whatever, but this is one small thing that I can do for myself that they have no control over, and that's this. And at the time it was running. And it's like, what can you do to reconnect with yourself? Because I want to make a whole new episode at some point about small acts of rebellion, but that's been a theme that's been coming up since moving home. I didn't realize that that's in some ways what I've been doing, but small acts of rebellion. And as a little taster, it's like I even said it in one video at one point, but it's like these small little things that society wants to condition you into being whatever, afraid, to being looking a certain way, behaving a certain way, having a certain life, and I'm just using those as examples. Take it as it resonates. But what are the small acts of rebellion that you can do that make you feel alive? Saying things that maybe are outside the norm, doing things that maybe aren't looked at as, I'll call it normal or acceptable, but that feel good, feel alive within you. And I don't know, maybe right now it's this. Maybe right now it's this for me, or maybe right now it's going to freaking Egypt, when everybody else is scared, and rightfully so. They are allowed, they are entitled to their fear. Ooh, 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 wait for this. Here's this hit when once I channeled this, but it's like, they're allowed their fear. But maybe in part of what I'm doing is, just like how last week I really got to release a lot of my fears and insecurities around the same thing, around going to Egypt, but maybe me going there is also helping them release their fears and insecurities. Because sometimes people need these outliers, if you will, to put them outside of their comfort zone. In some ways, being here, in a place where a lot of people don't leave, and don't do anything different than the things they've done over and over and over. And for definitely, for the, I can't even say the right reason, but, it is a safety mechanism. And I'm not saying that I am immune to that, because I think that's some of the patterns that I'm unwiring in myself, is just learning to trust myself and do these things. But with that being said, is like, sometimes within your safety bubble, you need people that feel a little unsafe to you in order to, I don't want to say wake you up, because if it feels that jarring, maybe they don't want me in their life. But on the other hand, maybe it gives them a perspective, a new perspective, a new way of looking at things, a new way of looking at themselves that normally they wouldn't have given themselves, because it feels too jarring in their own system. But when it's kind of forced upon them by somebody else's actions, if they so choose to, they get to look at that in themselves and be like, well, why does this make me feel terrible? Why does somebody else's actions make me feel scared? And there's many reasons for it. But in some ways, by you being your most authentic self and sitting in your most authentic energy, is also healing other people. And healing may look completely different to other people, but yeah, it's give yourself permission to be you in whatever way that looks like. All right, guys, we are gonna call this we're gonna make this a wrap. But thank you so much for listening today, and yeah, I will catch you on the next episode of the Perspectives Podcast. All right, later.